Welcome to Plainly Speaking, the show where we talk about AI and financial planning without the jargon, without the hype, and without pretending any of this is simple. I'm Ben Lewis from the Financial Planning Association, and with me, as always, is Matt Reiner, the FutureProof Advisor and our partner in the FPAI Authority. Matt has built a firm, tested the tools, and seen the results firsthand, which makes him the right person to answer the questions financial planners are actually asking. The buzzword right now is Agentic AI. I've seen it everywhere. What is it, and why should a CFP professional care?
Gosh, I pause because I don't even know where to start. I think that this is why should they care? I'll give the quick answer. Why they should care is because this is the future of work in all industry. It's the future of work in our industry. It's the future of work in all the industries where we are helping individuals invest. It's the future of work in all the industries that our families that we serve, where they work and what it means to their future retirements as well. And so understanding it is not only a necessary of how we need to build our businesses, it's an understanding that we need to have to help our families plan for their futures as well when I go there, and or when as they evolve and grow and look for retirement. The plain English definition is this: an LLM or a chatbot like ChatGPT or Claude that answers questions. That's what it does. You ask it something, it answers. An agent actually acts. It has now taken the next step. It uses the information and the understanding and the skills of an LLM that answers to then convert that into an action. Before agents, we were given the answers and then we had to go act. So an example would be we would ask it to, hey, here's an email. Can you give me a response to that email? It would give me an answer. That is how the chatbot worked in the future. Where an agent comes in is I now say, hey, I have this client. Here's the email. This is what they like. I need you to respond to it for me. They're connected to your Gmail or your Outlook. They understand your tone. You've already given that. And so they draft it and they send it out right there. That is the kind of the full extent of an agent. And so if they, the agent would update the CRM, the agent would put the notes in there. All of those are small little agents and micro agents. And I believe that firms, not only financial and planning firms, but all firms are going to have hundreds of agents. I think that what we've been talking about internally is like, how do we have HR for agents? Like you have to manage them. Like you have to manage them. You have to set standards for them. You have to set goals for them, everything of that nature. And I think that where it works within wealth management and planning is that agents work. I love this analogy. They work on the seams. The waste in a planning firm isn't inside any one system. It's the handoffs between systems, going from that email, then taking the action in the CRM, then taking the action in the planning software, whatever it may be. It's the handoffs between each of those where the inefficiencies and the waste occurs. And agents right now are the first technology that can live in those seams and take care of that action in that transaction between the two. And so, for instance, in our firm, we have dove into this fully.
Sure.
We have built out this whole infrastructure that we call Dugout. Dugout, it has a host of multiple agents. Each agent is specialized on specific softwares. So we have one agent that's specialized on Box, and one agent that's specialized on Salesforce, and one agent that's specialized, on our internal investment tool that we have. And then we have this general agent who we can talk to and is able to pull information from all those other agents. And that allows for you to not only pull information and get answers, which is chatbot, but then that agent can go and take action, set up a task, put in notes, send this to the person on the team, whatever it may be. And I think that why agentic AI is so important is it turns AI from something that's fun, that can create cat videos or recipes for your date night, into something that actually takes takes a load off of something you were actually doing. And that changes the game. Now, that comes with challenges, right? There's hurdles with like data privacy. How does data flow? How do you give it to which data it gets access to? But secondly, the agent is an LLM, and we know that LLMs sometimes, like a ChatGPT or a Claude, sometimes provide incorrect answers or make incorrect assumptions if they don't have the appropriate context. And so agents still need to be supervised. And I see that agents are doing the work, and our human job moves from the doing to the reviewing. The agent does the work, the human is reviewing the work, and is the human in the loop to ensure that the agent is doing it correctly, and then signs off on it. And so
Mhm.
that changes the narrative of our job. And everybody's like, well, that still means I have to like read this or XYZ. But you have to remember that a lot of the time that goes into solving a task is in the researching, the clicking, and finding of information. And what an agent can do is all of that and surface it up and give you the final output that you can scan. And what happens is that agents, just like team members on our team, you bring in an intern or a first day person and you give them a task, you're probably going to review their results pretty deeply for a period of time. Like every
Mhm.
time they do something, you're going to review it before it goes out internally or publicly. And the agents are the same way. You review it, but over time, just like with that human, you start to get more confidence in what they're saying and what they're doing, that you're going to then not look over it as deeply. And then eventually you're just going to hand it off to them fully. That's what's going to happen with agents. And they're like, well, what happens if the agent sends one thing wrong? Well, what happens if a human on your team sends out one thing wrong? You go to
Right.
them, you talk to them, you let them know why they did it, and you help them. Same thing with the agent. And then you maybe pair back and review it again for some time, and then you give them some autonomy. That's why agents are going to be for planning firms that want to serve families and clients more deeply and serve more of them. Agents are going to be the thing that unlocks a potential that is unimaginable today. And the last point I'll make is I did a survey of affluent Americans, those
Mhm.
people that have $100,000 or 100,000 or more investable assets, not including their home. And the thing is that the comfort level of 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 affluent Americans with their advisors using AI is nearly 70%.
It's
They're
crazy.
okay with it. You just
Yeah.
have to tell them and get their consent. And the likelihood is they're already using it and they're going to be okay with you using it. And it's going to scale your firm drastically.
Yeah, it's about transparency in
Mhm.
terms of where it's actually being plugged in. I got a question for you because obviously people who are going to be paying attention to this are financial planners. For any planner out there who's thinking right now about how agents can potentially help them in their flow, in their workflows, whatever it is, what is the right starting point? Like if I'm a planner, I'm sitting back in my practice and I'm thinking about ways in which an agent could actually be beneficial to what I'm doing. Like, how do they actually start to assess that?
Yeah, I think that this goes back again to narrowing the focus, right?
Mhm.
Agents can do a lot, but we have to then step back and narrow in to where the potential is, to your point and to your question. And so what I would always suggest is, what are those tasks and processes that you are doing daily or weekly, and it's consistent? And and it's like one of those things that you don't like to do, and but you need to do. And
Right.
I always like bucket these like, and like, where's the data coming from and how many people have to touch it? If multiple people have to touch it and the data is like non like PI data, like it's just like name maybe and maybe address and that's it. Like, okay, but if it's like account number data and social security data, that's like a different bucket. But if it's in that bucket A and multiple people touch it and it's done consistently, every week. Like that seems like, find one of those and go and explore that. And the first step you do is you find that process, then you go and chat with an LLM. Hey, this is my process. Can you help me define this process as deeply as possible? Because the problem is we have this curse of knowledge where we assume and chunk information together, and we just think that like each step of the process is like we kind of blend them together. And for
Mhm.
agents to work, we need to really define it very clearly, like break it out very simplistically. So work with the LLM to like break that process out, like where are we missing? And then you can ask the LLM, like, where do you think an agent could help? Which part of the process? And it may not eliminate the whole process, but can eliminate like 2 or 3
Sure.
steps in that process. And then the LLM can also suggest you to some tools, or you can go to the FPAI authority, and we talk about different tools that are helpful there as well. But that's how I would start with, is like, what are you doing weekly or daily? Is it something that doesn't touch, or parts of it don't touch, like highly sensitive data? Okay. Is it touch many people that it does? Because then that's where you get the ROI. Okay. Now let me take that one process and go identify sections of that process that I can use an agent instead of a human.
That's awesome. As always, Matt, very insightful stuff. And that's it for Plainly Speaking for this episode. If this conversation was useful, share it with a colleague who's trying to figure out the same things you are, because chances are they are. I'm Ben Lewis for the Financial Planning Association. Matt Reiner is the FutureProof Advisor, and we'll see you next time.